Hey, this is going to be a relatively quick episode, and I think I'm going to talk a lot more about this topic in the future. I think I'm going to have quite a bit to say about this topic, but for now, I wanted to address a few things. So, in the media, I've been reading a lot of discussion lately about inflation and opposite opinions on it. So, you have one side of the aisle that thinks inflation's a good thing, and you have another one that thinks it's a terrible thing. And I think both of them are focused on the wrong thing. And I'm talking about some very educated and some very high quality pieces in some very popular journals on both sides of the political aisle. Although economics shouldn't really be political, your understanding of economics and your ideas of what's right and what's wrong should not be based on politics, but they should be based on what you think is prudent to effectuate more productivity, more efficiency in the world. That's kind of the domain of economics, in my opinion. And I don't think that just taking a descriptive approach is going to be enough. I think you have to take an approach that values certain outcomes, saying some things are better than others. Not everything is equal. And in economics, if you're studying economics or if you're thinking about economics, it's important to say, yeah, in 10 years, in 20 years, or in 50 years, I'd like the world to be a better place, whether I'm an individual living in a society or I'm leading a company, I'm a chief economist in a company, or probably the most important, if I'm an economist in the public sphere, in the public sector, one of these economic gurus of modern times. If you're one of those, you need to not just be it's not just informative, not just descriptive, but there's a normative approach that we need to take, meaning we need to sit and say, okay, this is how we want the world to be in 50 years within the narrow domain of economics. So we're not talking about anything besides economics when we say that. We're saying, okay, in 50 years, what do we want? What kind of stuff do we want to live with in the world? Do we want better stuff or do we want worse stuff at the most basic level? Do we want more stuff or less stuff? Higher quality stuff or less quality stuff? Things that are more easy and more gentle on the environment, or things that are more harsh and more difficult and more abusive on the environment? So those are things that are pretty basic in my opinion, and I think it's pretty basic to say in the future I want to live in a world, and I think the world would be better if we all have a ton more stuff, a ton more free time, and we're able to utilize that stuff in better ways. And we're able to use that stuff in ways that don't harm the environment, that preserve our beautiful environment, the single earth we have, that one earth that we have, we want to preserve that. To me, that's an important thing too. So, but again, super narrow. We're not talking about how that's going to impact your life. Because, I mean, maybe it'll be bad. Maybe it'll impact you negatively from a psychological perspective. Because today we have a ton of stuff, and we also have a ton of depression and a ton of misery in the world. A ton of misery, even though we have so much material wealth. So material wealth is not the end all be all goal. But when you're talking about economics and you're not telling me that you want more stuff in the future for society, you're not telling me that you think the people that are not housed and clothed and fed now should be housed and clothed and fed. If you're not saying that to me, if you're saying something else, then I think you're a moron. It's going to be tough to have a discussion with you because it's not that hard. You don't need to be too smart. You don't need to be too intelligent to know what's good for people and what's not. From, again, that narrow economic perspective. Okay? So, what I'm not hearing discussed in all of these discussions on inflation, on the use of debt, on whether there's a lot of interesting discussions too, whether there's been a change of the guard per se, a change in the mindset of the people leading global economies, both in the West and in the East, and just everywhere. The people that are leading now are less likely to be baby movers. They're more likely to be Gen Z and Gen Y now in the US than the baby boomer generation. Although there's still a ton of baby boomers, and apparently baby boomers still control a massive amount of wealth in the US, half the wealth in the US. Baby boomers are still incredibly powerful. But every year that goes by, year after year after year, they get less and less powerful. And that'll keep going. That'll keep going until there are no baby boomers left. That's tough. That's a sad thing to say. That's a sad thing to know. But that's true. That'll happen. And there won't be a single one left. Then there won't be Gen X left at all, also. Nor Gen Z. And Gen Y, of course. So, as we move forward, of course, the people in charge change. But that's not that's not the main thing. That's not the main thing that I'm thinking about here. The way I think of the paradigm is not in terms of debt and fiat currency, not even in terms of blockchain. All that stuff is stories, money, blockchain, all of it. Whether you could be a big crypto guy, you could be Satoshi Nakamoto himself or herself, and you could still say blockchain is complete and utter bullshit. Now, this is coming from somebody who thinks crypto is a prudent place to put your money. Somebody who thinks that if you don't have any crypto, you're imprudent and you don't know how to manage risk or take advantage of opportunity properly in a dynamic capitalist environment. Unfortunately, if you're not doing that now, you're not really well suited towards a dynamic modern capitalist environment that we find ourselves in today. But at the same time, I acknowledge it's a complete fucking story. And that what really makes people wealthy, what really makes societies wealthy, what has made us wealthy, is the fact that there's people, monkeys, going out of their homes and working and doing stuff. Not for themselves. No, not for themselves at all. That's the important part. It can't be for yourself. Because throughout history, there have been people that have been working for themselves all the time. All the conquerors, all the great people that you read about, they're not that great. They worked for themselves. But Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, take them, take Bill Gates, take the late Steve Jobs, take anyone else you respect, or take somebody that's not in the big tech sphere. Take any big CEO, any head of a company, or even take a local small business electrician who's going to come and install a light bulb for you, who's going to come install a Tesla charger for you, who's going to replace your lights, or a plumber, or somebody that's going to come and inspect your house for termites and do some termite mitigation on your house. Say he owns a small business in your town, or somebody who's a handyman and is productive and good and works in Beverly Hills and is able to work in Beverly Hills. People trust him and he builds good relationships. Single guy, one guy in a nice truck working around the Beverly Hills area as a handyman. Well, those people, they're working for other people, and all those people are doing very, very well. That Beverly Hills handyman is making $400,000 a year. A top programmer, not top in the sense of seniority, but just top grad starting out at one of the top tech firms, even some of the more prestigious ones, even maybe the most prestigious ones, like Tesla and SpaceX, even maybe they're not making $200,000, $300,000 a year. But this handyman with no education but grit, an intense conscientiousness, an ability to communicate well with people and build rapport and build comfort, and just a general appropriate approach towards life, he's making two, three, $400,000 a year. Why is he doing that? He's not conquering anything. He's only serving others, and that's the kind of the beauty. That's the trick we got in this society. We fucked up, or we got lucky, and we somehow are living in a world where everyone's focused on improving other people's lives. How is that possible? It's like a utopia. It's like a dream. The most powerful people get up and still focus on improving other people's lives. Not in the direct sense. Yeah, they're not calling you and saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" But they're working to improve people's lives. Now, when Facebook improves people's lives, right? They're not improving your life, of course. Have you ever paid Facebook any money? No. They're improving their customers' lives. It's always the customers' lives that are being improved. The handyman, is he improving the life of the place where he buys the wrench that he uses? Yeah, he's kind of improving their life, but mainly he's improving the life of the people he serves, which are his customers. In the same thing, same sense, Mark Zuckerberg is improving the lives of the people he serves, which are businesses, big businesses, small businesses, medium businesses, businesses of all sizes that want to advertise on Facebook and who are reaching customers potentially on that platform. Whatever you think of Facebook, I have a ton of gripes of that firm. And the first one is that you're not the customer, but he is serving his customers. Jeff Bezos is serving his customers. Obviously, there is some advertisers on Facebook, but by and large, mostly the customers are you and me, people like you and me who are buying stuff on Amazon. So these people and their teams are always trying to serve their customers, meaning in a capitalist, global, interconnected, internet enabled society, meaning everyone in the world, because everyone in the world has the potential to be their customer. And we want to keep that going. Whether or not we have inflation or not, and whatever happens in the future, if we can still keep ourselves getting up daily and serving each other more and more every day with greater vigor, with greater capability, then we'll be fine. Then we'll be fine.